The Seattle Seahawks are a legitimate contender to come out of the NFC. And no, those aren't my words. That's Brad Spielberger from PFF, Pro Football Focus, who's saying this. But it's really interesting. Sometimes I like when people are loving the Seahawks, and sometimes I like being the sleeper. But it seems like everybody is kind of getting on the train of believing in the Seahawks as of late. From betting odds to more reporters picking them to come out of the NFC or win the division, a lot of people are falling in line on this Seahawks train. I posted this on Seattle on Tap, which is our Seattle sports brand, which you can see here on Twitter, and there's a YouTube page. A lot of people have mixed reactions. A lot of people consider us as a team that could be the Baltimore or Pittsburgh of the AFC, a team who's good enough but not good enough to come out and win a Super Bowl at this point. A lot of young talent. And a lot of people believe that with Pete Carroll, a coach like this, that you can obviously do whatever you want your team to do. Pete Carroll has proven in the college level, in the NFL level, that he is able to win games no matter what. And last year, a team that a lot of people expected to win 4 or 5 games won 9 games. They went 9-8 and made it to the playoffs, despite many people believing that wasn't going to be possible. So with Pete Carroll on this team as the coach and the way the Seahawks have built this roster, there's obviously always a chance. And you can see that with the betting odds. According to Greg Bell here, the Seahawks have gone from 25-1 to 10-1 odds to win the Super Bowl. So their odds have been cut more than half. And obviously, if you don't know betting, the lower the number, 10-1 is better than 25-1. 10-1 means pretty high odds to be a team that could come out of the NFC. Seattle's also gone from 66-1 to 35-1 to win the Super Bowl. So clearly people are believing in the Seattle Seahawks, including Vegas. And before I get to my thoughts on it and my explanation for all this, I do want to go through DraftKings as well to show you that in the NFC, the Seahawks are the 6th in odds to come out of the NFC. So you have the Eagles, the 49ers, Cowboys, Lions, Saints, and then the Seahawks. And what I find interesting here is that, to me, there should only be 2 teams that are ahead of the Seahawks, which are the Eagles and the 49ers. Now, I'm not saying that as if I don't think we're going to win the division, because I actually believe that there's one simple factor for the Seahawks that is going to put them over the 49ers this year, and that is confidence in a quarterback. I don't think the 49ers know if they're going to play Brock Purdy all year or if they're going to switch to Sam Darnold. I genuinely think they're not sure. And so for me, when I look at it as right now in the NFC, the only quarterback that I'm 110% confident is better than Geno Smith is Jalen Hurts. And then you could maybe look at some other guys like Matt Stafford, but that team's just not ready to compete. As you can see, they're 4th to last in odds to win the NFC. They're with the Panthers, Bucks, and Cardinals. They're expected to be a bad football team. So outside of that, Dak Prescott, you can make any argument that him and Geno Smith are the same. Derek Carr, you can make an argument they're around the same. Jared Goff, Kirk Cousins, Daniel Jones. All these guys, I'm not saying that Geno's better or worse than all of them, but they're all kind of in the same sphere, whatever you want to call it. They're in the same world. But I actually have the confidence in Geno Smith because of the offense he has, because of last year's performance. With another year of confidence, he might just get better. Now, for me, Jalen Hurts is obviously a clear MVP caliber guy. He's probably the best quarterback in the NFC. But this is where the Seahawks have a great chance. They have one of the better quarterbacks, if not the second or third best quarterback in the NFC. So I do not see why they would finish anywhere below a team like the Cowboys, the Lions, or the Saints. Now, obviously, in order to be a team that goes from trading Russell Wilson to 9-8 to becoming a team that has a chance to compete in the NFC, you have to look at what they've done over the last 2 off seasons. Obviously, over the last 2 drafts, I'm leaving out some people here, but I'm just saying some notable picks that they've had over the last 2 years is this year, number 5, Devin Witherspoon, the 5th pick in the draft, a corner to just keep adding to that defense. And then you had Jackson Smith and Jigba. Now you have a wide receiver core with DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, and Jackson Smith and Jigba, and a guy like Jake Bobo, who has just, taken the internet by storm. I made a video about him the other day, but he's not going to be this big-time receiver. He might be even listed at the 5th receiver, but he has the potential to be a guy that also adds production. It's been a while since this team has had production like that with 4 or 5 good receivers. You added 2 guys in 2022 to the offensive line, in Abraham Lucas and Charles Cross. That was a big deal. Kenneth Walker last year, a running back that established himself as a good running back. Obviously, Tariq Woolen, a guy who became a top 5 corner in his first NFL season last year, which he will only get better this year. There's obviously been a lot more the Seahawks did in the draft, and a lot more important pieces like Boye Mafe, and this year picking up Zach Charbonnet. There's been a lot of different pieces that they have brought in, but those are some of the main pieces. Obviously, in the offseason, you look at guys like Jaron Reed coming back. You look at guys like Draymond Jones being added. Of course, taking some, risk factors, but bringing in guys like Devin Bush to see if you can help revamp his career as kind of a backup linebacker. They brought in Julian Love to kind of balance out the fact that somebody like Jamal Adams is probably not going to play week 1, and he does become injury prone. So now, instead of having 2 high quality safeties in Quandre Diggs and Jamal Adams, they've added a 3rd quality safety in Julian Love. Then, of course, last but not least, bringing back Bobby Wagner. Now, when people talk about the Seahawks defense, we were ranked like 26th overall by PFF or Pro Football Focus, and they've, had 26th in scoring, I think is what we were last year as a defense. I just named a bunch of pieces. Jamal Adams, if he does come back, that's just an additional piece. With the additional piece of Julian Love, with the additional piece of Devin Witherspoon, when he's healthy and, plays what he can play, his potential. Jordan Brooks is coming off injury, but he will be back, and he missed some of the end of last year. That's an upgrade right there. Draymond Jones, Jaron Reed. They picked up Mike Morris and Derek Hall in the draft, people that can work into this defensive line. Uchenna Nwasu's back, got re-signed. Boye Mafe is expected to have a great season as a second-year player. And then, of course, Bobby Wagner. And I think that's one of the biggest things that people are missing. If you go through PFF's highest graded linebackers over the last 3 seasons, in 2020, it was Fred Warner with an 88.6 score. In 2021, it was Micah Parsons with an 89.7. In last year, 2022, for the Rams, not for the Seahawks, was Bobby Wagner at a 90.7. Bobby Wagner on linebacker grades last year was rated number 1. A lot of people feel like he was going to decline or wasn't as good. I think he didn't have a good week 1 with the Rams, but ever since then, he had a great season. The Seahawks might have believed that he was going to decline, is why they let him go, and, maybe some age. And the defense itself was getting worse, not better. But look what happens. Bobby Wagner goes to the Rams, has one of the better seasons for a linebacker for his 10th year in a row. The guy just keeps getting better somehow. And the Seahawks bring him back to shore up this defense. And I think one big piece that we're missing is, the defense wasn't good, but it's going to be better. And with the additions I mentioned on offense, in total, there's no reason to believe this team doesn't have a chance. Now, obviously, the biggest issue with the defense was that in 2021, they went from the 31st in yards allowed in the pass defense to 13th. So bringing in a guy like Tariq Woolen obviously helped. There was a lot. Kobe Bryant, Michael Jackson, the whole corner group did better. But the run defense is what got worse, dropping from 11th to 30th. So that's what made us a super middle of the pack team. Now, when you look at that, number 1, you have the pass defense is only going to get better, most likely. If you listen to what John Schneider said on Bob and Wyman, he said that the group that has been the most improved over the offseason was the defensive backs group. Like I said, we already have an insanely good defensive backs group, and he's saying that they've gotten better. Obviously, with the pickup of Devin Witherspoon is obviously the expectation. If that gets better, we're talking about maybe going from the 13th pass defense in yards to maybe a top 10 team. So if that happens, what you would expect from the run defense, if they can get anywhere better than 30th and be the 20th best run defense, we're talking about a defense that would become madly improved overnight, even with a slight improvement on both ends of the ball. We're not talking about a major improvement, slight. I'm talking about instead of being the 30th in run defense yards allowed, become the 25th. All of a sudden, if your pass defense becomes 13th to 10th, you have a really good football team. So this is what I'm hoping happens with the Seahawks. We obviously got to be extremely hopeful that no injuries happen to this defense or this offense, and you have a clean slate of a year. But as I said, with Pete Carroll, with this offense that they've picked up new pieces for, with the defense they've picked up new pieces for, I'll always believe. And I'm believing in the Seahawks. Unless they prove me otherwise in the first couple weeks, there is a legitimate chance that they come out of the NFC and make it to the Super Bowl. One of the last parts I was going to get to is Geno Smith and how he was extremely better than we ever could have expected last year and how he's going to improve this year. But I'm going to get to that in my next video. So like, subscribe, stay tuned. I'm going to be putting out a lot more content now that the football season's here. And my next video will most likely be about what I'm expecting from Geno Smith and how he's going to improve on an already stellar season last year. Make sure you like and subscribe. Make sure you go check out Sports on Tap Seattle, as I tagged in the description. And we have another page at the Sports on Tap with me and my brother where we talk about content creation. If you have a dream of being in content, if you want to do what I'm doing, talk on camera, hit us up. Get on there on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, on this YouTube channel, and let's talk content creation. So check us out everywhere. We love y'all, and I'll be back. Peace.